I know what you're thinking. You clicked on this video, you read the title. I probably titled it something like How I Mastered My Energy, something like that. That's probably what I titled it. You clicked on this, you see me wearing this hoodie, and you think I'm gonna be one of these guys that act like a wizard and tell you that if you write down your goals 50 times on a piece of paper and say them in the mirror, then you're magically gonna become rich. But trust me, even though I might look that way, that is not how I am. When I was younger, I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I didn't believe in the law of attraction. I didn't believe in energy. I didn't believe in literally anything. The only thing I believed is that rich people had rich parents and they magically had money, and that I was just a loser and I was born to lose. I didn't believe in any of this energy stuff. I didn't believe in any of these things people would talk about. But as I got rich, as I got older and I studied these things, I realized how true they are, and I realized how it can completely change your reality by just simply mastering your thoughts, your energy, your reality. All of these things can completely change your day-to-day life. And even though that might sound like a lot, even though that may sound confusing, you're probably like, okay, where are you going with this? I'm going to break down exactly how I mastered my energy, how I mastered the law of attraction, and how I basically mastered my vibration to become a millionaire at 19 years old. Now, you've probably heard a lot of things online. You hear the law of attraction, that gets thrown around a lot. You hear about the law of detachment. You hear about all these laws, right? You think there's like a million different laws. That's what it seems like. And there's only a few things you need to know when it comes to mastering your energy and mastering your vibration. I'm going to break it down in such a simple way that you'll be able to come out of this video, know exactly what to do so that you know how to make more money, how to basically improve yourself at a ridiculous rate, and how you're going to be able to explain it to somebody else who asks you this question. How do you master your energy to get rich? So first things first. I went from 0 to 150K profit in a month in 9 months. I changed my life quick. I went from nothing to a millionaire in less than a year practically, on pace to be a millionaire. I didn't hit the millionaire mark until about, a year and 3 months in. But I went from 0 to 150K in a month in 9 months. March of 2023, I started my business. December of 2023 is when I made that 150 grand in a month. And it wasn't by accident, and it wasn't just with hard work. Did I work hard? Yes. Was I disciplined? Yes. Did I go after what I wanted with tenacity? Yes. But the biggest thing was my energy and my vibration. I was a loser throughout high school, right? I was a normal kid, parents harping on me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college, me and them arguing all the time because I was practically flunking out of high school. I didn't want to go to college, so I wasn't trying. It was a constant battle. I would sit on my phone, after I got home from school, fall asleep, and then wake up at like 7 or 8 p.m. so I could bet on some NBA games and hopefully make some money. I would bet all the money I had from my part-time jobs, and all in all, I didn't have a good life. I was a loser. I was a bum. I was pretty much depressed. I don't really believe in that, but at the time, it was safe to say if you looked at me, I looked depressed. So I had a bad life. And I always had ambition, though. That's kind of what I had, to lay my head on, I guess. That's kind of that last piece of my identity. I was a loser. I had nothing going for me, but I always had that little ambition and that little arrogance, I guess, about me, where I knew I was going to be rich. I just didn't know how. If you asked me when I was younger, am I going to be rich? I would have said yeah. You would have asked me how, I would have said no clue. Conversation would have ended there, but I would have said yes, I knew how to be rich. So I knew I was going to be rich in the future. I always had that little sense, which I feel like most successful people have, if not all, where you just know things are going to work out. You can't explain it. You can't justify it. There's nothing you have to prove it, but from a young age, you are meant for more. And that's probably why you're even watching this video. And that's a good sign. If you have that ambition, if you've always dreamt about, being successful, having the money, you just know somehow, you just have that thought that keeps coming back that you are going to achieve great things in this life, then it will happen. But to move on with this story, right? I was a loser. And even though I had that ambition, I had nothing going for me. I just had self-delusion. And one day, a couple months before I started my business, I saw a video online that motivated me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I kept seeing all this online money stuff online. I saw kids my age driving supercars. I saw other people online making money. I knew that I had to make money. And one day I just saw a video, it motivated me, and I literally looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, we're done with this. Nathan, we are done being a loser. We are done not having money. We are going to attack this online money thing, and we are going to make money. I don't know how. I don't have a business model. I don't have a business. I don't have anything, but we are not going to be a loser anymore. And it wasn't just with business. It was in all areas. It was with fitness. I started working out. It was with business. It was with, just overall my being. I didn't want to be depressed anymore. I wanted to actively change it. So I decided to make that change. And about 2 months after that, I came across a program where it was basically offering to teach me how to build a sports content business. I've always been a huge sports fan. I didn't really know what this sports content thing was. I'd never heard of that business model before, but I basically went through the funnel, talked to the guy who sold me on it, and he had a Lamborghini. He had the life I wanted, and I was like, okay, I already bet on sports. I'm a huge sports fan. I need something to actually direct my energy to if I want to be rich. I might as well take the risk. So I spent $3,000 of the $4,000 I had, all my money practically from my part-time jobs, all my money on this program, because I'd already decided a couple months before I was going to go all in. And I really felt like this was God talking to me, telling me that this was my opportunity. So I went all in. And I know I'm just telling a story right here, but trust me, these things are all going to tie together about energy, vibration, all that stuff. So I got in, right? And I realized that all the top creators in my space were lazy. They were posting, once a day, once every 3 days, maybe once a week. And I was like, okay, I'm going to attack this with tenacity. I'm going to post 4 times a day until I succeed. It doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter if I wake up with the flu. Doesn't matter if I have COVID. Doesn't matter literally what happens. Doesn't matter if I sleep till 11 p.m. Those 4 videos are getting out. And I did that for literally 6 months, right? 3 months with no results. And after that 3rd month, my page really started to pop off. And then once football season came around, I monetized the audience that I had built. And then I ended up making that $150K profit in a month. I would go more in depth. There's plenty of other posts on my page, about my full story. I literally have an 1.5-hour video called My Story where I go over everything, or I would go over it, but I'm focused on what we're talking about in this video. So I blew up my business, went to 150K profit in a month, had a girlfriend, life was looking a lot better. I made over 100K in a month at 18 years old. Life was pretty good, right? Then moved to Miami, blah, blah, blah. So I went from nothing to rich, right? I went from broke to rich. And there's a few things I learned. The number one thing I learned, to go back to the meta point of this video, is that energy and the law of attraction is 100% real. As soon as I went all in on my business, I'm going to tell you now why it is real. As soon as I went all in on my business, I realized that the more I focused on the work, the more I stopped comparing myself to others, the more I focused on what if this does work out rather than what if this doesn't, the better I felt and the better things came to fruition in my life. For example, it was easy for me to get into a depressed state or feel lost and just pissed off at myself because I'd hear my parents yelling at me. They'd tell me that I needed to go to college. I was flunking out of school. They'd say bad things about me, which were justified, right? My parents are great relationship with my mom and dad. They had good intentions, but they were big advocates on college, and it made sense, right? Because I never achieved anything in my life. I was a loser. So they wanted me to go to college, but they were saying these things to me. It was easy for me to get into a depressed state. And when I would do that, when I would compare myself to the huge creators when I had first started, when I would give into that negative self-talk, when I would give into what my parents were saying about me, I would end up just feeling like complete shit, and I would not have any more good things happen to me in my life. It seemed like once I would let those things creep in, bad things would continue to happen. But once I finally started to get a little bit of momentum on my page, my thoughts completely changed. So once I finally had my page starting to take off, I was getting views, I was making a little bit of money, and I was starting to get some followers, my thoughts completely changed. I thought I was the man. I was like, okay, we're really doing this. I knew football season was coming up, so I knew I was about to make a bunch of money from my business, because that's our peak time, right? As sports content creators, and all the things started going right. As soon as I got that first momentum, that first little bit of momentum from my page, I actually started to get some views and some followers, my whole life changed because my thoughts were positive. I was like, wow, I'm really doing this. I finally accomplished something. We're going to blow up this page. We're going to get rich. And I only thought about the positive. And once I started to get those consistent results, I realized that my thoughts were so good. I felt so much better every day. I was excited to wake up and make these videos and get to work. I was excited to see how far I could go. My whole life changed just based off the quality of my thoughts. And because I built so much momentum in my business, because I was focused on it literally every single day for the past 6 months, and I finally started to get traction, then I basically achieved success at a super rapid rate. I went from, like I said, nothing to 150K profit in a month fast. Most people don't do that. But the reason I did it, looking in hindsight, is because my thoughts were so positive. I did not care what my parents said once I made a little bit of money. I did not care about what anybody said because I knew that I could get rich from this business. All I needed was to see those little bit of results. So what I tell people before I really, explain exactly what the law of attraction is, what I tell people when they come to me, when they ask for advice, when they want to know how to get rich, they want to know how to make money, I basically say, forget that. Forget the big goal, forget that huge thing you're going after, and fixate on your first win. If you are starting from zero, whether it's in the gym, whether it's business, which we're going to go off of because that's probably why you're watching this video, do whatever it takes to get that first sale. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter if you don't sleep for a month. You need to get that first sale, and you're not allowed to quit until you get it. That's what I tell people. And whatever business you're in, right? It could be a commission check, it could be a sale, whatever. So you need to get that first win. And the reason is, once you get that first win, you are going to be filled with so much energy, so much pride that you have never felt before, because you've never done anything on your own in your entire life. If you really think about it, if you really backtrack to your childhood, if you're a normal, person from America, if you're in other countries, it may be a little bit different, but I'm speaking from my experience, obviously an American kid, right? So if you go through the normal school system in America, your whole life you have teachers, your whole life you're with your parents, your whole life you're getting guided through things. You're getting guided through school, you're getting guided through sports, you're getting guided by your parents on every move. But once you become an entrepreneur, once you actually go and do something on your own without your parents' help, without a teacher's help, with nobody's help, and you finally get that first sale, it's literally the first thing you've ever done in your life completely on your own. That's why it's so liberating, and that's why you're going to feel such a sense of achievement. Because even though you may have achieved things in your life, prior to that, you've never done anything truly on your own. At least that's what it did for me. So I literally remember this like it was yesterday. It was Easter Sunday. I did a promo, selling what I was selling, which are VIP picks to my business and signups and stuff like that. I did a promotion for Easter, and I made $320 that day. And it was probably the best day of my life. I was geeked. I was going insane. I was at a family party, funny enough, because it was Easter, and I was telling them, I was like, no way, like I'm doing this, like look how much money I'm making, and everyone was proud of me, right? So that's why I was so excited. I remember that first day where I made real money. I made $300, over $300. And for me, a kid, with just part-time jobs prior to that, that's a lot. I would make $300 every 2 weeks. So to be able to make $300 in a day by clicking buttons on my phone was crazy. And from that day on, I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life because I wanted to get that feeling. And this is what goes into everything, right? This is how I'm going to tie it all together. Once you have your energy on point, more good things are going to come into your life. Once your thoughts are on point, it's going to be like just a rainstorm of just success on you. Because once I had that first day, that Easter Sunday, it was about 5 months into my business. Once I got there, right, and I grinded through the part where I got 0 results and I finally got my first win, I quickly went from that first win to 150K profit in a month, literally 4 months later. Why? Because my thoughts were so fixated on winning. My thoughts were so positive, and I was only thinking of, what if this works out? What if I blow up? What if I do this 100 times? What if I do this? What if I do this? I did not care about the negative self-talk anymore because I had already proved myself right. I had already proved myself right by getting that first win. So this is why I tell people, do whatever it takes to get that first win, because that's when you start to build momentum. And momentum in business is really the number one thing, because once you get that first win, your vibration is going to be high, your energy is going to be high, you're going to be happy, you're going to be ecstatic, you're just going to be in a higher vibrational state. And the whole premise of the law of attraction, the whole premise of how the universe works, is that you are a magnet. What you think about becomes true. How you are, your vibrational state. If you are in a positive state, positive things are going to happen to you. If you are in a negative state, negative things are going to happen to you. It really is that simple. In the book, the famous book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, which breaks down the law of attraction, there is the simplest line ever. It says, good thoughts lead to good fruit. Bad thoughts lead to bad fruit. I messed up right there because of how simple it was. I overthought it. But that's literally what it says. Good thoughts lead to good fruit, aka good things in your life. Bad thoughts lead to bad fruit. It's really that simple. If you are thinking positively, good things are going to happen. And to go a little bit deeper, yes, you might look at me right now on this video and you might close your eyes for 10 seconds and think of yourself in a Lamborghini. That's great. But after that, reality is going to set in that you're broke, you can't pay your rent, whatever problems you have, right? That's not real. It's overall thoughts, your prominent thoughts, what you're always thinking about. If you're always thinking about getting rich, if you're always thinking positively, I'm going to build this business, I'm so excited for the future, I'm really building something right now, that is when positive things are going to happen. But if your primary thoughts are negative, oh my God, I don't have anything going for me, this person thinks I'm a loser, my girlfriend broke up with me, blah, 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 right? If you have all these negative thoughts, then negative things are going to happen to you. So you need to change your thoughts, because what the law of attraction talks about, the actual formula for how it works, is your thoughts lead to your actions, which lead to your reality, and this system constantly repeats, right? So basically, if you're thinking positively, that's going to influence your actions, and obviously your actions are going to influence your reality, your actual material world. And that's where the disconnect is, right? Because most people, if you have a negative reality, if you're not in a good situation, you're not going to have positive thoughts. So this thing keeps getting disconnected. You have a bad reality, a bad life. So you have bad thoughts, and then it keeps repeating. And that's why you're just in a vicious cycle of failure. The only way to change it is by changing your thoughts. Because if you have positive thoughts, you'll have positive actions, you'll have a positive reality, and then you'll just get into a spiral of success. There's a reason I was able to achieve so many things so quickly. And it wasn't just because of hard work. It was because I mastered my energy. I knew that my thoughts were so powerful. And once I understood that, I realized that all I could do was think positive. If something bad happened to me, cool. It's a learning lesson. God wanted to give me that. Or, excuse me, if something positive happened to me, it was like, okay, this is great, but we're not done yet. We're going to keep it moving. I would acknowledge that I did something good, but I stayed in that positive state. I didn't let myself get too high, because then I would drop off, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. I was always in that high vibrational state. I kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going. And where most people get it wrong is they care too much about the bad things and they think too small. Because like I told you, once I got my first sale, my mind was opened up. Like I actually saw it. You see all this stuff online, right? You see me making money online. You see everybody and their moms making money online. But until you do it yourself, you still have that little like flicker in your mind where it's like, you know what? Are these guys legit? Can you really do this? Is it all fake? You know what I mean? Even if you don't think that, your subconscious thinks that because you've never done it before. Unless your best friend has done it right in front of you, you probably still think it could be a scam. It could be fake. So that's why I'm telling you, you got to get your first sale. You got to get your first win, because then you'll be like, okay, we can really do this. Your eyes opened up, like from the movie The Matrix. Your eyes opened up to the real world. That's why you got to get there, right? And once you do that, it's going to be easy to build momentum. The hard part is changing your thoughts, because once you start winning, it's easy to start winning. You see this with people all the time. They go in a positive spiral, right? They just start changing their life. They get in better shape. They make more money. And like 6 months later, they're a different person. That's what happened to me. But it also happens vice versa. Somebody starts drinking more because they lost their job. Then they get on drugs. Then they lose their girlfriend. Then their family hates them. Now they're in a hospital. Like all these bad things compile onto each other, right? It's a snowfall. But you can also have the same effect in the positive way. And the way to do that, number one, is by changing your thoughts. How do you change your thoughts? This is the key part of this video. I'm going to actually give you actionable steps so that you can basically raise your thoughts, raise your vibration, and attract what you want in this world. You need to keep your word to yourself. You need to build self-discipline. As a man, self-discipline is what builds self-love. If you are religious or if you're not, God is the ultimate creator. We are made in the image of God. So what does that mean? We men are all creators. That is why you feel the best after you go through that hard workout. It's why you feel the best after you have a hard day of work. You're locked in. It's because you're creating something. You're building a new life for yourself. You're building something, right? Men are builders. That's why these guys get so... Even if they're actors, athletes, that's why these guys get depressed after they're retired, because there's not another mountain to climb. There's nothing to do. The reason you feel the best when you are building something, when you're locked in, when you're going after a goal, is because you're in your godlike state. You're in your divine purpose. So the only way to fix your thoughts and to fix how you feel as a man is to work your ass off and keep your word to yourself. Self-discipline is key. And you can look at this in a very simple way. It's like a meter, right? Your confidence is basically the same thing as the quality of your thoughts, right? Your confidence is your vibrational state. You can use plenty of different words for this, but I'm going to use it as a confidence meter. So if you want to fix your thoughts, if you want to just improve your life as a whole, starting tomorrow, here's what you need to do. You need to set up a list of tasks that are going to get you towards your goal. even if you don't have a business yet, you can still set a list of tasks that says wake up early, work out, study different businesses, talk to the richest people you know in your phone contacts. Like, there's a lot of positive things you can do even if you don't have a business. But whatever it is, set a list of tasks for tomorrow that is a productive day, and it doesn't matter how you feel, you are going to get all those tasks done. If you say you're going to wake up early and you wake up early, boom, your confidence meter just went up a little bit. If you say you're going to work out, and even though you don't feel like working out, you go to the gym and push yourself through it anyway, your confidence meter just went up again. If you say you're going to work on your business and you do it just like you said you were the day before, your confidence meter goes up. So every single time you do this and you practice self-discipline and you keep those promises to yourself, your confidence meter goes up. And once you do this over days, over weeks, over months, over years, you're just going to build so much momentum that you are going to get into a continuous just tornado of success. But it all starts from your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to be the best. You're only going to be at peace as a man once you've gone through, you've been locked in, right? Once you've been working on something, once you've been doing what you know you're supposed to do. I don't know about you guys, at least how I'm wired and how I know all the other successful people I know are wired, is that if we do nothing all day, if we are lazy, which I never do, but if we do literally nothing all day, you feel terrible. Nothing in your life really changed. It's just the fact that you have that guilt of not doing anything. But when you're locked in, when you wake up early, when you work out, when you work on your business, when you eat healthy, when you do all the right things, at the end of the day, you can go to bed and with a peaceful mind. You can go to bed and be like, you know what? We killed it today. We got closer to our goal today. That is when you feel the best. And that's when you're going to have positive thoughts. Of course, you have negative thoughts. You are a loser. If you are a loser, if you're drinking, smoking weed, partying, chasing girls, of course you're going to have negative thoughts. You should. They're true. So the only way to get them into positive thoughts is by actually doing positive things. And the only hard part is from going from 0 to that first win. Like I told you, for me, it was 0 to that Easter Sunday that changed everything for me. Go from 0 to that first win. If you're not even trying to build a business, you're just watching me for something else, right? If you're trying to go to the gym, do whatever you can until you see those first results. Are you going to get results in a day? No. Are you going to get that first bicep vein in a day? No. But 3 months in, maybe you will. 4 months in, maybe you will, right? So do whatever you can to get that first win, because once you see it with your eyes, it's a magical thing. Once you actually see it, you are going to want to do it more and more, and you are going to build momentum. So the way to master your energy is by simply changing the quality of your thoughts. And the way you change the quality of your thoughts, aka build confidence in yourself, is by practicing self-discipline and completing a list of tasks every single day that are getting you towards your goal, cutting out the BS and genuinely investing in your future self. Treat yourself like someone you care about. Treat yourself like someone you believe in. Like, simply be on your own team. Cut out the girls, cut out the partying, cut out all the vanity, all the stuff you don't need, and start locking in on the things you do need to do. And I promise you, the funny thing about locking in and working hard is that you actually feel better when you do that relative to than when you're a degenerate. It's short dopamine versus long-term dopamine. It's short, going to the party, drinking. It's a short, burst of fun relative to a lifelong of riches and fun and feeling proud of yourself. So you just got to choose your team. But the number one thing if you want to get rich is mastering your energy, and this is exactly how to do it. Focus on the positive. If someone asks you if you're going to get rich, say yeah. Say I already am rich. Say that. Like, if you're that confident in yourself, you should already be that way, right? And I'll add on one more thing in this video before I wrap it up. The law of attraction. I told you how it works, right? Your thoughts lead to your actions, which lead to your reality. Well, another important thing to note with the law of attraction is that you need to act like how you want to become. So if you're not operating like someone who makes 100K a month, you're not going to make 100K a month. If you don't have the thoughts of someone who's making $1 million a year, you're not going to make $1 million a year. You know what I mean? So if you want to make big numbers, act like you've already made them. If you want to make 100K a month, act like a genie came up to you and gifted you 100K a month. You get wired $100,000 every month. Think about it. Linger in that feeling. How do you feel? How would you feel if you were making 100K a month? Probably pretty good, right? You'd probably be nice to people. You'd probably be super energetic. You'd probably be charismatic. You'd probably work harder. You'd probably be super happy. Guess what? You need to act that way now, because once you actually act that way before you have it, that is when you will get it. Once your goal, what you want, is lined up with your frequency and how you're acting, that is when you'll achieve it. So not only do you need to fix your thoughts, but another part to this, which goes along with the same thing, is that you need to act like you've already got what you want. want. You don't need to need it so bad. You don't need to be like, I'm not sleeping until I make 100K a month. I need this, I need this, I need this. Because when you do that, you're telling your subconscious that you don't have it. Instead, be like, yeah, I want 100K a month. Let's act like I already have it because I'm so confident in my future self that we've already got it. I'm just going to act like I already have it. And once you do that, that is when you will succeed. That's why spending money on yourself, I am such a huge advocate for. I bought a Jaguar F-Type when I finally made a little bit of money with my business. It was a 40K car. I was making 2-3K a month and I was spending $1,500 a month on my car. Why? Because I knew it was going to make me feel rich. It was going to boost my confidence. It was going to make me work harder. And that's exactly what it did. Because every time I sat in that car, the quality of my thoughts went up. I felt rich. I moved on that frequency. And that is how I was able to scale so fast. Next thing you know, I'm doing it in a McLaren. 6 months after that, I kept the McLaren and bought an Aston Martin. So now I'm living my life the same way, just to a bigger scale, because I basically cracked the code to the law of attraction and the energy. I know that I just need to act like the person I want to become. The person I want to become wouldn't be afraid to spend money. The person I want to become is disciplined. The person I want to become is charismatic, right? I act like that person now, and my reality lines up. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I appreciate you guys watching. Mastering your energy is super, super important. And if you want to know a vehicle, where to put this into, right? Where to put that hard work into, where to actually put this energy into, something where you will get results. If you want to learn how to build a sports content business, just like I did, how I got rich, I'm going to leave a free 15-minute training below. That is how I went from 0 to 150K profit in a month. It's paid for my whole life. The Miami views, the McLaren, the Aston Martin, the watches, all that stuff. It is all from sports content, and I truly believe it is the best business on the planet. I had a guy, Chad Slavinsky, in my program, Sports Creator Academy, make 70K in a month last year in his first year. We're right around the corner from football season. This is the prime time to do sports content. So if you're interested in it, check out a 15-minute free training I made below. It explains everything about the business, if it can work for you, if you'll be a good fit, and if you think it will, go through the application process. I'll reach out to you and we can see if we can work together. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one, and subscribe to the channel.